Hey guys, Marshall from Limited Resources doing yet another video for MTGO Academy. And as you can see, I've decided to stick with the beta. There was a bit of discussion in the comments thread for my last video about whether I should use the beta or not. And I really appreciate it. It was really good feedback. A few things I hadn't considered and some things I already had. Now, the crashes are kind of a deal breaker, and that's the issue that we've been facing on the videos. There's been a new update for the beta, and it just came out yesterday at the time of this recording, and it's supposed to address those issues. So I'm giving it a shot. If it weren't for the crashing, I would just use the beta all the time. I think it's better, and I also think it's just smart to get ahead of the curve and to try to be ready when the switchover happens, because it's going to happen, and it's not going to be that far off either. So, all right, let's take a look here. This pack's really mediocre. The rare is unplayable. Banisher Priest is quite good. Unfortunately, it's in white, which is the worst color. So, in being double white, it's kind of rough to move in on white on your very first pick without being really good. You know, I'm talking like the awesomest possible stuff. You know, Archangel of Thune and that kind of thing. That being said, there's an Accursed Spirit and a bunch of junk. Spore Mount's fine, but this pack is just really, really bad. So I actually am going to take the Banisher Priest. I think it's enough better than Accursed Spirit to warrant taking it here. So I'm going to do it. All right, there's a few good cards in this pack, so that's nice. There's a Blood Baron, a Warden of Evos Isle, Green Doomblade, and a Liturgy of Blood. One deck that I like quite a bit, and then I had some success with earlier, was actually a white-black deck that used various life gain and sacrifice effects in the set to help get ahead. And I'm going to take Liturgy of Blood here as a result. All right. Another pretty mediocre pack overall. Train Condor, meh, he's okay. Advocate of the Beast is pretty good. That's about it. You guys know I don't like Elixir very much. There's a couple of decks that want it, but you can wheel it. Like it's not a priority. And even then, this isn't one of them. A card like Altar's Reap I could see fitting into a deck like this. The best card in the pack, I think, is Advocate. I could certainly just take it here. I mean, I'm giving up a Steel Form Sliver. Maybe an Altar's Reap. Like, I'm just not really giving up anything. So I'll take Advocate here and see if green ends up being a little bit more open. Okay, well, we pick up a Child of Night here, which is pretty good. Nightwing Shade's decent. I wouldn't call it exciting, but it's decent. And then we might get the Auramancer back if we pick up some nice auras. That can be really good. Specifically Quag Sickness, but here's a good aura. Let's take a Pacifism. This is the one big upside to being in white, is that you're often the only one, or one of somebody maybe has a few cards in white, but there's not that many cards that push you down that route, so you can pick these up a little bit later than they might normally show up. Oh, this is interesting. Here's a Sanguine Bond. We've only got Child of Night right now, but we could probably do some kind of stupid stuff with that. The only good card in the pack really is Time Ebb. We could play a Soul Mender, but I think we might be able to wheel it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's going to be a Forest and a Staff, so I guess not. I guess we could wheel the Staff or maybe the Quarter Shield, but sure, let's take Sanguine Bond and see what happens. This could get interesting. Ooh. Now we have an Angelic Accord here, too. There's unfortunately two other really good white and black cards in the pack, but hell with it. Let's do it. Now we just need stuff that gains us life or keeps us alive. And Celestial Flare certainly keeps us alive, so let's take it. Staff of the Mind Magus. That's the blue one, so we can't make any use of that. I guess we're going to take Capation Knight, but it's really pretty bad. I hope to not play it, to be honest. Okay. All right, so this is kind of funny because Congregate certainly fits the bill that we're going for, and we're definitely going to take it here for our kind of weird deck. But it's interesting because Divine Favor would also be kind of nice for a deck like this, but it only gains you 3 life. And, like, That does not net you an angel, so that's just not really gonna do it. Oh yeah, new trick. Boom. It's actually an old trick, I just didn't remember. Yeah, but I'm going to be sticking with the beta for now. Like I said, I'm going to keep my mind open to it. If I just had like a blanket choice a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I'd probably still just stick with V3, but I kind of forced myself to start using the beta just because I know that it's coming and I don't want to get blindsided and be like, what am I supposed to do when it actually comes out? Then a weird thing happened. I started playing it, and I actually just like it more now. I mean, I think it's significantly better than version 3. I think it looks better. And I think that the layout is much more sensible. All right, so Ultra's Reap or Siege Mastodon. I don't really want a Hive Stirrings, I don't think. I'm going to take the Ultra's Reap here, actually. I like Siege Mastodon a fair bit, too. It's not that. I do kind of want some card draw to try to get us to where we want to go. I'm going to take Oromancer to try to get us up to this later part of the game. So the two ways I think that this deck can work are one of them that we just have enough life gain to make Sanguine Bond and Angelic Accord good. We just have enough like raw, lifelink creatures or cards that gain us life. The other way it can work is if we got it back. We might even run it. Yes. We're actually pretty likely to run it at this point. It's kind of interesting. Maybe not. I don't know. I might be going a little too deep with that. But the other way that we can do it is we can control the game long enough so that we get to the point where we have Angelic Accord plus Sanguine Bond or get a Congregator, just get some big finish going at the end, where these kind of become finishers in a way as opposed to just like outright life game. All right, so Wall of Swords, Celestial Flare, Mark of the Vampire, all on my radar. I'd love an Undead Minotaur in the deck too. I'm not going to take it here, but the Wall of Swords fits that second plan really well. It keeps you alive. I mean, this card is so good at blocking. It's insane. But Celestial Flare also helps keep you alive, and it's a little bit more removal, and it's cheaper. Mark of the Vampire, though, unfortunately, is a card we really kind of need here. I mean, Mark of the Vampire basically says, as long as we have Angelic Accord, it says, resolve this and hit something, and you get an angel. And that's really good. That being said, man, I really feel like these cards are better cards, but I just don't feel like I can pass it because we just need ways to gain life at this point. Wow, this is just a completely stacked up pack. Look at this, or at least for us. Corrupt Nightmare, Liturgy of Blood, Pacifism. That's pretty darn bonkers. Corrupt, interestingly, could be a card that we could take because it does gain life, and it can definitely gain 4 life in some scenarios. But I think I'm actually going to leave that on the sideline for now. I think we might wheel it. It's only the second pick, so we have a pretty good shot at wheeling it. There's a lot of, Liturgy is going to go ahead of it for sure. And really only heavy black or mono black wants it, or a deck that has emphasis on gaining life. So that leaves Pacifism and Nightmare. Nightmare, clearly a strong finisher, though I really do feel like we're pushing much harder towards white. So I'm actually going to take the Pacifism, even though I think that Nightmare is a bit better of a card. All right, so nothing here for us, unfortunately. I can probably wheel this Shrivel if I want and just snap up a Fortify. I mean, I guess it's a combo, right? Child of Night, Fortify, Angelic Accord. Maybe I'm going a little too deep there, but yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to take a Fortify. It's pretty disappointing, I won't lie. It's not really the type of card that I want here. Okay, nothing really for us, but I'll take a Blood Baron. All right, here's another Child of Night. I think I'm going to take it over the second Mark of the Vampire. I want as many Child of Nights as I can possibly get. Sure, Celestial Flare would make the deck, of course, as well, but isn't that how it always goes? The good cards pile up next to each other. And I'm going to snap up this guy. Wall of Swords is really strong for that kind of stuff. We've already got one Pillar Field Ox. All right. Now we've kind of reached an interesting crossroads here, because normally I would just snap up Master of Diversion. I mean, it can attack well, it can keep pressure going. It's just a really, really good creature. It's probably the best white creature at common. Maybe I forgot something, but it's really, really good. But there's also Diabolic Tutor, which is a card normally I wouldn't even want to touch. But man, being able to search up Sanguine Bond or Angelica Chord is really good. Yeah, I think I'm still just gonna stick with a little bit more of a basic plan here. Ooh, here's a tough choice. Dawnstrike Paladin or Stonehorn Chanter. Chanter, as we know, has that magical ability to gain us 4 life. Dawnstrike Paladin's probably just a better creature, but I'm going to stick with Chanter here. Again, it's just too easy of a combo with either Sanguine Bond or Angelica Chord, plus this guy is just super, super tough for our opponent to handle. All right, I'm going to take the Celestial Flare over the second Wall of Swords here. Celestial Flare probably keeps getting better the more of them you have. There's a few cards that are really annoying for it, namely cards like Young Pyromancer, things like that can, Spore Mound, that can kind of play around it effectively. But like the green deck in general has a pretty tough time with it. They have to start making weird attacks in order to play around it, and you can eventually kind of set up a spot where you get them. All right, Brave the Elements, probably correct here. Second Altar's Reap or a Duress doesn't seem really great. I'll take Brave, though. I'm not going to main it, I don't think. Barrage of Expendables is actually really annoying against us, but so is Firecat in a lot of ways. Yeah, I'll just take the Barrage. That thing can just pick apart our Child of Knights and make our life difficult. Alright, so nothing here, unfortunately. Blessing's just unplayable. Angelic Wall might be playable on the deck. Yeah, I guess I'll play it. It's probably better than Rod of Ruin. Yeah, it probably is. They do kind of different things. Unfortunately, they don't do either of those things well, but we've got plenty of playables here, so we can certainly start to trim things down and get things more focused as we go into the third pack here. Somehow we open the same pack that we opened before. Another Tidebinder Mage. Thankfully, it doesn't do much against us. Doesn't really do anything. Staff of the Sun Magus, number 2. I mean, it works okay with Sanguine Bond, but it doesn't really work with Angelica Chord realistically. So probably just going to run a Corpse Hauler here, which is, I got to say, that's a pretty disappointing pick. I mean, doesn't really do anything along the lines of what we're trying to do. I'm going to take a second Liturgy here over a Dark Prophecy. Dark Prophecy, really tough to cast in a deck with 2 Celestial Flares in it. Our mana is already going to be kind of stretched, and the losing the 1 life is kind of annoying too. I mean, if we wheel it, we might consider trying to jam it in here, but I'm just going to take the solid removal spell this time. So not much here except for a Child of Night. There's also a Deathgaze Cockatrice and a Festering Newt. I like both of those, and I would probably run both of them, but you guys know the deal. We need lifelinkers. Yeah, having 3 Child of Night is very good. I would probably run 6 or 7 in the deck if I could, and just make it a Child of Night deck. And I think that would work out really sweet for us. The more of those we can get, the better. Probably don't have to run this. Okay, well, here's a Charging Griffin. I like it better than Nightwing Shade, and I like it better than Siege Mastodon. There's really nothing in this pack for us anyway, so we'll just take it. And here's another Child of Night. There's a Ring of 3 Wishes. That could be kind of fun. Though I think that keeping things simple and just taking our fourth Child of Night is good here. Again, I just want as many of these as I can possibly get. I mean, you get 2 of them down, and it gets really interesting with Sanguine Bond because it adds up so quickly. You just suicide 2 of them in there, and you can get in for 4. I mean, that's a lot. All right. So we get a second shot at Diabolic Tutor. There's also a second Charging Griffin here. Right now we're at 13 creatures, but with 24 cards. But we've got some easy stuff we can cut here. I don't think that'll be really that hard. Man, Diabolic Tutor in this deck. It's interesting. It's not amazing, but we do have kind of, like, again, being able to go search up an Angelica Chord is kind of a big deal. Also, we've got pacifisms and stuff that we can get to kind of stem the bleeding. Yeah, hell with it. I'll take it. I don't really know what I'm going to cut here, though. I guess I cut Pillarfield Ox. The problem is I have way too many 4-drops here to really be comfortable. We're already looking at potentially running 18 lands in this deck. Oh, wow. Wow. We did it, boys. This is a 4-drop I will certainly fit into this deck. Wow, that is savage. I cannot believe this is the one card we wanted more than any other card in the whole set, and we actually picked it up pretty late here too. It's just an absolute beating with Angelica Chord and Sanguine Bond. That is fantastic. Love that. Probably makes me a lot more likely to play Diabolic Tutor, because now if I draw Sanguine Bond or Angelica Chord or Trading Post, oh geez, it just keeps getting better. This is the other card that we really wanted. Now, and this is just adds to it as well, because now we can tutor up for the piece that we don't have. And that's really, really good. I'm going to take Hive Stirrings here. Yeah, I'm going to take the second Altar's Reap, and there's a non-zero chance we play both, though I would say it's unlikely. None of these do anything. Yeah, so now all of a sudden Diabolic Tutor, although it is interesting because now that we have Cauldron, Trading Post, Bond, Accord, any 2 of these pieces that aren't the same type, meaning if we have Trading Post or Cauldron, and then Angelica Chord or Sanguine Bond, then we're in like really good shape. Ooh, we better take this. Get that out of there right away. These don't do anything. All right. Anyway, this ends up being a lot more of a combo deck feel than it did before. Before we were kind of going a little deep and just playing Bond and Accord because we happen to have a Congregate and a bunch of Child of Night. Stormhorn Chanter, just some random synergies that we could, hope to maybe make an Angel off of Angelica Chord or something. And once you make an Angel, like, you're pretty happy at that point. Like, that's kind of the bar for me. If I can make an Angel with it, I'm thrilled. But now things have changed significantly, and we are now all of a sudden like almost a full combo deck where we're trying to get Bubbling Cauldrons and Trading Posts going with Bonds and Angelica Chord. So we're going to be changing the deck around a fair bit here, I would say. So let's start by cutting 1 Altar's Reap. I do think that with only 12 creatures, Hive Stirrings counts as a creature, so 13-ish creatures currently. Altar's Reap is still a little bit ambitious, so I don't want to do that quite yet. I want to keep all of this, though. I think I want to keep all of it. I think Corpse Hauler's still fine. Corpse Hauler's actually maybe not that great. Well, he might be on the chopping block. Blood Baron is certainly not great. Interestingly here, cards like Master of Diversion get a lot worse. We are not looking to attack now. Like, I am cutting Charging Griffin for sure. And our game plan is fully defensive. I mean, we are looking to sit back as much as possible here, block, gain life, not die, and then eventually set up our combo where we can just kill him without even attacking. I mean, Trading Post plus Sanguine Bond, that's unbeatable. They just, as long as you have a stable board state, they just take 4, and they're just dead. And then if you happen to get Angelica Chord out, it just closes out the game really quickly too with Trading Post or Bubbling Cauldron. So I don't want to go too low on creatures, though, because then I have to start cutting other stuff. And I could. I mean, like, I could cut this, which I kind of like in the deck, but I don't love in the deck. And like Auramancer seems fine in the deck. Hive Stirrings gets a little worse with this thing gone. Blood Baron certainly doesn't seem amazing here at all. It's a decent magic card, so that's fine, but I don't think it's like irreplaceable. This puts us to 10 creatures in 24, so we need to cut a spell of some type. But as you know, I mean, this is why these decks get really awkward, right? Is because now I've got a 10 creature deck, which sucks. And I mean, because generally speaking, but I've got 4 removal spells at 2, which is kind of insane. And then I've got a bunch of do-nothings. I've got Angelic Accord doesn't do anything. Congregate doesn't do anything really at all. Trading Post, it does some stuff. Bubbling Cauldron doesn't really do anything. Doesn't really, these just don't do enough. Sanguine Bond does nothing, right? Now, when you put them all together, they do incredibly powerful things, much more powerful things than just a few creatures could do, which is why, of course, we're running them. But the fact is, we have to be alive to make that happen. And that's where we have to shift our focus. And Blood Baron doesn't do a particularly great job of keeping us alive. Child of Night, it does. It does a fine job. It holds up the ground game, prevents them from attacking us with their 2s and sometimes their 3s, and it gains us some life to give us a cushion long enough to get to our good stuff here. We still need to make another cut here, though. I really don't want to cut another creature. We're already at 11 if you count Hive Stirrings, and I like Hive Stirrings because of like Bubbling Cauldron. That kind of thing. I could replace Hive Stirrings with Blood Baron, I suppose. Or even like I could go cheaper and put in like an Angelic Wall. Just something even more defensive. I think all of our creatures... Well, yeah, Hive Stirrings actually... Another problem with Hive Stirrings is that it doesn't Mark of the Vampire high enough to make the Angelic Accord trigger. So maybe I'll do this. Because that does. And Blood Baron also protects you against a bunch of random stuff, which is really nice. Specifically against red. Like they go for a Chandra's Outrage and you sack the creature that you don't get dinged for 2. That matters. That adds up pretty quickly. Another card is Act of Treason, right? They try to act your guy and they've got some sack outlet like their own Blood Baron, and you can just sack it and just be like, no. Because that happens all too often. That deck, that's a real deck in this format. All right, so we need to make one more cut here. Really don't want to cut anything else. So now we're in that really tough spot here where I got to figure out something. So, I mean, it could be Tutor, but it just, Tutor just feels so good in this deck. It just feels like I can set up a couple of early Child of Nights and just buffer my life total long enough to buy enough time to actually fire off a Tutor and not just be dead. Master Diversion certainly out of place in this deck, though. It actually can do some pretty nice things. Sometimes you just go Child of Night, Master of Diversion, and put them in a really awkward spot. Maybe I should just abandon that plan, though, and ditch him. Now, that would put us at 10 creatures, which is very, very low, but lots of removal spells. This is the only card that really needs creatures on the battlefield. It does make our Congregate a little worse, but I mean, we don't have to gain that much to make it good in this deck. It's either a finisher with Sanguine Bond, or it's or it just makes an Angel, ideally. I guess I could cut Mark. With this few creatures, it is kind of lame to have Mark of the Vampire, even if it does do a lot of the things that you want to do. I mean, there's it triggers the right things, but maybe it's just a little too ambitious, especially because we've got more redundant forms here. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Also, another reason why it's really risky to play Mark is that we just don't have any great threats. Like, if they have a really good removal spell, what are they going to do? Kill our Child of Night with it? That doesn't happen very often. I'll kill your Auramancer. It's like, none of those really do a whole lot. So why don't we try this? Yeah, we're going to try this. And we're going to have to go pretty much split here. 9-8 seems good because we want to be able to fire off these Celestial Flares. Yeah, our mana's not going to be great, but here we go. Let's see what this thing can do.